Steve Alcorn's a fine investigator. What he's doing with this Chris dude, I have no idea.
I gave her cigarettes for our anniversary one year.
There you go. That's fucking romantic.
She didn't like gifts. I said, well, I want to get you something. What do you want? Just give me a couple packs of cigarettes. So I wrapped them up and gave them to her.
Yeah, have some lung cancer.
You got a dead Bigfoot that's just been shot, hanging upside down in a tree. Though Meldrum was also careful to note, it's not a course about Bigfoot.
It's a course about Fozzie Bear. Who's Fozzie Bear? Some say his father was half grizzly. Nobody believed he was real. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a Muppet. To me, that was better than being president of the United States.
They upped my meds last night, so anything's possible. We're laughing at a story about dead people. I can't explain it, but it sure makes me feel like the spirits are happy.
I mean, I guess you could say it might have been somebody's hand moving real quick, but it's not a fucking ghost.
The jury's still out on that.
See, your hoaxes come at you with smiles. They come as your friends.
Pope Francis says doggy heaven is real, so your dog has a soul.
Ah, so now the dogs can hang out with the pedophiles.
Not Benedict, Francis, Pope Francis.
No, I'm just guilt by association, Steve.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's what they say when they talk about me and you.
Yeah, there you go. Hello everybody, and welcome to the Fortean Slip. This is episode 67. Death rays are known to cause death.
Really? Is that any indication how this show is going to go tonight?
Yeah, right down the shitter. Just like it does every fucking Sunday. Over the past week, and I think I posted on the blog. I'm not sure if it was in the last week or so, but I watched it within the last week. I watched it kind of in two parts. I had posted a documentary on Nikola Tesla, and I watched it. I started watching it. I got maybe like halfway through it, and then I had stopped it, and then I had finished it up either one morning or one evening, and then I turned around and sent it to Steve, and then I watched it again, and I was absolutely fascinated by the information that I didn't know about the man.
Agreed.
And the crazy shit about Tesla is that the thing that we're doing now, right now, that Steve and I are doing, we owe to Tesla, ultimately. The inception of everything that we're doing, using technology to talk across the internet, you might as well fucking trace it all back to Tesla.
Is this where I say something?
You might. I don't know. I assume you
No, I
let
agree.
the long pause sit there because, being a guy who came from fucking radio, you like to sit there and, enjoy the long pauses.
I like to pretend I came from radio. Here's the thing. Even I did go to college for communications, and radio or broadcasting was my main focus, and I don't remember them ever talking about Tesla. To be honest with you,
and nobody ever did talk about Tesla. They give away an award for radio. It's called the fucking Marconi Award.
And in that documentary that you sent to me, Tesla's like, oh yeah, Marconi. He's using 17 of my patents.
Oh yeah, he fucking because they would go. I would assume to his journal entries or whatever stuff that they had found later on, which a lot of people did back then. People didn't have fucking Facebook in the 1800s. They all kept journals and wrote letters to each other in cursive writing that I think should be abolished today.
In the olden days. But so he spoke about these things, and he had said that
Marconi, he wasn't worried about Marconi. And Marconi wound up ruling in Marconi's favor when it came to the patents, and then didn't change it until after Tesla's death. That it was actually him that had the patent and that Marconi didn't have the right to it. So Marconi got all the fame for it. Tesla got nothing.
And it still continues to get all the fame for it. That's the thing.
Right. You don't hear anything about Tesla.
I can tell you when I was in high school, the only thing we ever heard about Tesla was that thing you put your hand on and your hair stands up. I think that was his Tesla coil or something like that. And that was his invention.
Right. I never have seen one myself, like up close.
Oh, they didn't. You didn't have one of those in your school?
No, I didn't have one.
Oh man, those are pretty cool. Your hair stands straight out. It's really sweet.
But
it was showing you how the electric can flow through you but not hurt you, that kind of thing. And that was mainly what Tesla was.
Right.
about.
Tesla was doing experiments back before people even understood what electricity really was. And he would be lighting up light bulbs in people's hands, running currents through them. And it just fascinating shit. Stuff that probably frightened the shit out of everybody that was around him. But I was blown away by this documentary, and I've always been fascinated by Tesla and what he was looking into. If anybody's seen The Prestige, it kind of goes into Tesla a little bit, although in a fictional sense. But it talks about his transmission of energy wirelessly, and the fact that he was, just an amazing inventor, and just, a recluse. He never married. He was like just this weird bachelor, but everybody's fairly sure he was into women. However, it says in the documentary that we watched, and I had read this before and heard about this before. There's no concrete evidence as far as I know, but it appears that Tesla, I don't know if he castrated himself or what he did, but he destroyed himself sexually because he felt like it got in the way of his obsession with invention.
Right. There was some famous French actress, and he said he liked her, but she wouldn't leave him alone. And it got in the way of his work. And so he said himself that he did something, but I don't think he actually made mention of what he did.
Right. He never said, as far as I know, he never said what he did. But, he made mention of the fact that he was lonely. But it was just fascinating to watch this thing, and I never realized ultimately. I knew he had a lot to do with what we have today for our foundations for electricity, but I had no idea how deep it went. Like, I had always assumed that it was just his battle with Edison.
Yeah, that's all I had.
That's all I had ever known about. And then I didn't even know about the stuff with Marconi. And then, the other shit that happened to him with Westinghouse.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. And Westinghouse basically screwed him, and so did Edison. They both screwed him.
And then later on, the funny thing was, later on in his life, he's destitute, got nothing, and Westinghouse comes back and, basically pays for him to live for the rest of his life.
Yeah, but they said they paid his room and board. Big fucking deal. This guy invented alternating current, and that's the basis of what we use still today.
And they all said that alternating current was fucking dangerous. Edison went so far as to have his associates demonstrate in the street electrocuting animals.
They show in the documentary an elephant. And that was real footage from Edison, and that was to show that alternating current was dangerous. It's because Edison wanted the contracts, you know.
Right, and Tesla proved that his, the alternating current was the way to go.
Right. And it is, because can you imagine if we had just gone direct current? You'd have a power plant like every mile.
Yeah,
The
well,
noise, the pollution.
but think about that. But that's very corporate thinking.
Oh, of course.
Hey, if we can put a power plant every mile, whoa, think of the money.
Think of the, yeah, but think of the manpower, and how high would our electric bills be today?
Oh God,
You know,
insane.
it would be insane. It would be impractical, and I don't think we'd be as advanced today as we are as far as technology goes if we had gone that route. And I'm kind of glad we didn't. And it's a good thing that Tesla came along exactly when he did, you know?
Yeah, he
Or else
he was
that's what we had.
he was a fucking godsend to technology. And the funny thing is he claimed that his ideas came from somewhere else. He alluded to the fact that he talked to aliens.
He even had, in the documentary, he had stated that he thought, at least he thought, that he was receiving a message from extraterrestrials when he was in Colorado doing that station. Nowadays, they believe that it was actually just the sounds of space, and space transmits stuff. But
Right. Well,
he really
he was
truly
he
believed
he
it
was the first
aliens.
person. He was the first person to receive radio transmissions
Right.
from space.
But
And
he interpreted that to be extraterrestrials.
right, which what it
Civilization.
probably was just repeated anomalies of what would be radio transmissions coming off of objects or whatever that we now know is just it's natural. But to him, it was amazing.
I think the thing that fascinated me most was his involvement with like the paranormal, the psychic stuff, and he believed that his mother, when his mother died, he knew, before, he wasn't with her, but he knew that she had died.
Oh yeah, he was
And
good friends with a guy who believed in telepathy, that
right,
humans were
and
very capable of telepathy.
that kind of fueled some of his inventions. They talked about the one where he put this thing, and it got the frequency of the building, and the building shook, and he didn't even know what was going on because he was right there.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah. He's
police
doing the
outside came in.
experiment, and the like all these fucking booms are going on all around, and the fucking cops show up, and he's like, "Hey, you just missed a really cool experiment."
Yeah, and it's like he got that from basically a psychic vision, and so that was what fascinated me the most. I had no idea that Tesla was into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I had known that it was there. And he was always lumped in with science fiction and the unreal. Whereas his ideas were very real. And
I think a lot of them were just ahead of their time, this wireless stuff.
He predicted weather control, which we now know on some level can happen. And the whole idea of the HARP system, like that idea of high frequency radio transmissions or bursts into space, the ionosphere, that's all from Tesla.
And they even say that in the documentary. And in fact, when they were building the HARP, they mentioned Tesla several times, and when they were designing it and everything, it's his idea, basically.
Yeah, it's fucking Tesla.
I don't know that he wanted to do weather control, but he wanted everybody to have free energy, basically, and he wanted to transmit it through the air instead of wires.
Oh, he was definitely a peace-loving hippie before his time.
Right. I think there's a lot of talk in the documentary about, well, he could have been a millionaire here, or he could have been a millionaire there. I don't think that was his focus, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, the money would have helped him out, but Edison screwed him, and he's like, whatever, I'll move on, and he went to Westinghouse. Westinghouse screwed him. Oh, whatever, I'll move on, and he just kept doing his work.
He never gave up on his dream of wireless transmission of energy. He never gave up on it.
I think the one thing that hit him hard was when Marconi got the Nobel Peace Prize and he didn't, because that was his.
The Peace Prize? You mean the Nobel Prize? Just the prize.
Well, whatever they call it.
He didn't cause peace around the world because he fucking made a radio.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
If anything, he allowed for transmissions better to facilitate war.
Well, yeah, but in his mind, he was doing a great service to mankind, which he actually did, in my opinion. In the end, we wouldn't have what we have today.
But yeah, the feud between Tesla and Marconi, that I had no concept of that. I had no idea, and now it's like, wow, it's a whole new world for me as far as looking at things.
Well, even as a communications major in college, me not knowing about Tesla, it's kind of shows you that, it still goes on to this day that this guy doesn't get his due. He's the one who had the first patent. It was the Tesla coil that made radio transmission possible, basically.
Yeah,
and that's what Marconi used.
That guy was just throwing out patents like a motherfucker.
I have to look up how many he actually had, but I know that Marconi, according to Tesla himself, was using 17 of his...
Marconi was trying to create radio transmissions from one place to another. Tesla comes out and throws a submarine in the water and controls it with a remote control.
Yeah, RC cars, man. And this is back what?
Yeah, this was back in, I can't remember if it was the early 1900s or if it was the late 1800s when he did that. But he fucking just throws out a remote control fucking vehicle.
And his idea behind the remote, I'm pretty sure it must have been big. It wasn't what we think of a remote control vehicle.
Right, it was very large.
His idea was for war purposes, but in fact it would actually end war, in his opinion, because you'd be fighting war with machines instead of people.
Yes,
and I think
the people of the time believed that war machines would end war.
Right. Well, if you look at it now, we've got the drones. What are they? Basically remote controlled. There's some of them.
Yeah,
anyway.
But I don't have any illusion and think that a remote controlled drone is going to somehow stop war.
No, but his vision of having automated or remote controlled weaponry eventually did happen. It did come true.
Oh yeah, so, he was so far ahead of his time, so fucking genius, and what a mind. What I wouldn't give to sit down with Tesla for 10 minutes.
No shit, right? No shit.
Just 10
and
minutes.
Everybody who met him, enjoyed being in his presence. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he oh God, what an interesting person. Dude, the guy that basically broke ground, the very foundations of everything that we have that's lit up around us today.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to sit down and talk to him. The guy that from thin air thought up the idea of fucking wireless communication. Thought it just fucking out of thin air. Poof. Yeah, I'm just sitting around today. What am I going to do? Fuck it. I'll create radio.
And this is back in the day when the people were still, in horse and buggies.
Yeah.
This wasn't like, the 1940s where, people had vehicles. I mean, I guess they started inventing vehicles back then, but nobody really had them and things like that.
Everything was in its infancy.
He wanted to connect the world globally before you could even drive across country. I mean, that kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts.
Airplane flight wasn't invented yet. Nothing. And this guy was trying to make a World Wide Web, basically. That's what he wanted to do. And it was all wireless.
And the thing that I think fascinates everybody about Tesla, and which he never denied, is that he created a death ray. And
Well,
Tesla was one of those people where I guess where if you claimed that he did something that he didn't do, he'd say he didn't do it.
right.
But he was extremely quiet about his death ray.
It's hard to say. I mean, I know they're still working on that technology today. It may exist. I did find it fascinating that in the documentary, the one guy that was talking about it really didn't talk about it all that much, as if he knew something that we don't know,
Well, I would assume that he worked for the government or something.
Right.
Yeah,
He's
or,
like, that's all I can say about that.
Allegedly. I hold no illusions. I've seen documentaries that are full of bullshit before. This seems like it was a pretty reputable documentary.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. This one seemed spot on everything.
I've read a lot of the stuff about Tesla, so I know, I know that it kind of follows through the timeline. So hey, it is what it is. We're never going to know for real what happened with the guy anyway. None of us, we're not John Teeter. We can't go back and pick up an IBM computer. We can't go back and hang out with Tesla.
Maybe Tesla was a time traveler, and that's how he did all this shit.
Maybe he got fucking dumped off in 18 whatever, and he was like, fuck.
Well, here's what's even more fascinating to me. The dude almost died when he was a kid. If that had happened, where would we be?
We'd probably still be fucking in the dark ages. No, I think technology would have developed, and we probably would have wound up where we are today. But I think the route would have been a lot longer.
I don't think we would be there now.
As far as electricity, I think we'd be there with electricity today. I don't know if everything else would be as far as it is. But if
Edison had gotten his way, and it would have taken years to build all the power plants necessary. The manpower for that would have been huge, And so once they're built, we're still using gasoline in our cars, but when there's probably better solutions. And why is that? Because we already have that infrastructure, And so that's why I think that if Edison had won out over Tesla, then we'd still be not as advanced, at least, as we are now. That's my opinion, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the timeline would have gone, but I know that he made a significant difference in human history, not just American history, human history, planet-wide. Nikola Tesla.
Who else can say that? Not that many.
Yeah, he is in an exclusive club of human beings, as far as I'm concerned, that made their mark on the planet. Not just their community, not just their country, not just their race, the fucking planet. The dude lit up the world.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, created radio. He's done it. He did it all when there was nothing. He didn't have fucking Google. He couldn't sit down and be like, fucking Google search. How do I? He didn't fucking have that shit.
The cool thing about Tesla is he really didn't. He didn't write down equations. He was against that sort of thing. He just went out and did this shit, against all odds even. Nobody believed in him.
Yeah, and in some ways that was folly. There are people who believe that he should have stuck more to, analyzing the shit beforehand, because he would have known that that some of his ideas wouldn't work. But it was his that steadfastness that fucking pushed him forward that made him find out how to do it.
But he was 5 years old when he came up, or 5 or 6 years old when he came up with the idea to harness the power of Niagara Falls and use it for a power station.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, and this is what, the 1850s, 60s when he's that young?
And then he did it.
And then he did it.
And then he fucking did it.
And that power
If there's
like
anybody who has fucking,
New York State.
if there's anybody on the planet who utilized the fucking secret, Steve, it was Tesla.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what the secret is, but Tesla sure as hell did.
Holy shit. The guy just knew how to visualize and produce.
I mean, who else can we think of? I mean, Einstein, maybe. I mean, they were contemporaries of each other, but who else? I mean,
Yeah,
that had the impact that this guy did.
I seriously don't know. And the funny fucking thing about Tesla is his impact is unnoticed.
Yeah. Edison had the same kind of impact, but in different areas, I guess, if you think about it. I mean, he did invent the light bulb and all that shit, and Bell invented the telephone, and that gave us our first communication device, really. So, not first, but first that everybody could use instead of a telegraph.
I'm Team Tesla, Steve.
But in my opinion, without Tesla, a lot of those things could have happened, but not on the same scale that we have them now.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
He oh God, he fucking took a piece of shit song and made it into a symphony.
Agreed.
That's the guy was just, he could look at anything and make it work. If you watch that, like I said, if you want to go watch a good movie, which I love anyway, watch The Prestige, and it'll give you an idea of, I mean, obviously it's a fictional piece of work, but of what type of an inventor Tesla was. And he's just fascinating. And the documentary is on the blog. And the link to the blog is underneath all the videos on YouTube. But
well, I could tell you after watching that, I'm going to look more into the guy because that was fascinating.
Yeah, he just, I had no idea about the radio stuff. Like, I'd always heard about the death ray, and I knew that he was trying to create wireless transmission of energy. I knew about the feud with Edison. I had no clue about the stuff with Marconi. I had no idea that Marconi's name is still to this day on the award. It should be called the Tesla Award. It shouldn't be called the Marconi Award. The award for radio should be called the Tesla Award.
And the award for whatever, in the electrical industry is called the Edison Award.
And again...
Tesla just didn't get his due that he should have. I mean, and to tell you how much of an asshole that Edison really was, besides killing animals in public and executing people in the first electric chair with the other technology that he wanted to, he promised Tesla $50,000 if he improved these engines or these motors, and the fucker didn't pay him. What a fucking asshole,
Yeah. It's one of those stories where you start listening to it and you're like, eventually this guy's going to make out. He's going to do okay. It's got to have a happy ending.
But we know ahead of time that it doesn't.
No,
we already knew that he died penniless.
He dies penniless and with nothing.
Look, I don't think he would have had it much different. He died while he was going to do what he loved doing besides inventing, and that's feed the pigeons. I mean, he got
wicked into pigeons later on in life. He was closer to pigeons than people. I guess I can kind of relate.
That was his passion, and that he died basically doing what he wanted to do. So, in my mind, he was probably the richest man on earth as far as that goes. I mean, he did what he wanted to do. And money didn't
but
really
he
matter.
always he wanted that. He wanted that invention, that wireless transmission of energy, and I think I think that consumed him so much that I don't think he did ultimately get what he wanted.
No, not in that aspect, no.
So,
And they're still saying that sort of thing is not possible, but
well, it is.
I don't know.
They can do it with microwaves.
Right, but it's not. I mean, it's hard because space is so big.
Right.
You know?
It's not like what he was talking about.
No, it's not like you can beam. I mean, if you see a lightning bolt, it doesn't go in a straight line. You know. And when we
Says
learned
you,
about
Steve.
when we learned about the Tesla coil in high school, that was basically what they said. You can't send it. It can go a little ways, but you cannot direct it because space is so big. You can't control that.
Right.
But if you could, and if Tesla had, I mean, I think he ran out of money and he ran out of time. If he had lived longer, or if he had, hadn't had all these odds against him, maybe we would have. Yeah, maybe we would have some.
If
things
his
that we don't
laboratory
have now.
hadn't burned down and all of his fucking shit wasn't destroyed at one point, then yeah.
But there is good news. The Tesla papers, some of them are still missing. Come up with those, and you can be the next Tesla, right?
Yeah, sure.
Or a millionaire.
On that note, Steve, you got some fucking news tonight?
I think so. From the BBC.com, toymaker Mattel creates a new doll, Lorna McNessie. The toy maker behind Barbie has created a new doll inspired by the Loch Ness monster myth. I don't know why they have to put myth in there. I believe in a Loch Ness monster.
Why is it
Lorna,
McNessie? Oh, okay, all right, I get you.
Scottish.
Fucking Scottish.
Yeah.
I thought I was like fucking. I'm like, why is it related to McDonald's?
Maybe it's McNessie. Lorna McNessie is one of the latest additions to Mattel's Monster High, a range of characters that also includes zombies, ghosts, and werewolves. She is described as the daughter of the Loch Ness
Steve,
monster.
I'm gonna get Monster High now.
You weren't kidding. She is described as the daughter of the Loch Ness monster and is from Rutland, Monster High's version of Scotland.
Jesus.
This is just insane. Loch Ness Bid, an organization that promotes the loch and surrounding areas, has welcomed the doll's creation. Graham Ambrose of the Loch Ness Bid said, the introduction of the character.
What are you, fucking from Maine?
Not at all. My relatives were from Maine, I think, though. My ancestry. Anyway, this monster is shrouded in mystery and perhaps slightly scary in a nice way for children, and it's therefore a little surprise that Mattel has chosen to introduce this character, daughter of the Loch Ness monster. Mr. Ambrose added, I am sure that it will have many children begging their parents to take them to Loch Ness, which can only be of benefit to the area. As well as the doll, Mattel has had an animation made of the tartan-clad Lorna McNessie. The short film shows her having to leave Rutland for Monster High to avoid publicity caused by her appearance out of the loch. It's just ridiculous.
Fucking Monster High.
Lorna McNessie. Oh, this one I really like. From the SundayPost.com. Bigfoot running amok in the Botanic Gardens in Edinburgh. Experts have been using fake monsters to test how people report encounters with mythical creatures. One exercise saw
So that's
one
what
person,
all the hoaxers are doing.
pretty much. One exercise saw one person unleashed in a popular Edinburgh attraction dressed in a gorilla suit as part of a study to see how people react to so-called Bigfoot sightings. The experts have also used props and costumes to create other beasts. The team from the University of St. Andrews, Fife, are keeping tight-lipped about their research until it has been published in a scientific journal. But Dr. Charles Paxton, a research fellow and statistical ecologist, I can't read these big words, at the university, ecologist isn't even a big word, explained the serious study would help help his team find statistical patterns and accounts of weird and wonderful sightings.
So mysterious.
He admitted people think it's a bit odd to explain what I'm doing. The Bigfoot experiment took place at the Royal Botanic Garden, Edinburgh. They chose the venue as it has 50 giant redwoods, similar to those that adorn the U.S. forest where Sasquatch sightings are generally reported. He said it's like the area where you get reports for Bigfoot. There are other experiments that have involved fake monsters. The garden visitors were all told they were taking
LSD.
part in one group were told to look out for Bigfoot, and see, they were told to look out for Bigfoot. God almighty. And sent en route that would bring the fake gorilla into view. They were later asked to report their sighting. The other group didn't get to see the fake primate, but they were asked to write down a personal account as if they had. The study then looked at differences in the two sets of accounts. The team revealed details of their Bigfoot study at a day of talks in Edinburgh yesterday. It covered the
I like the idea, but I just think it's bullshit.
Yeah. I guess they've done this with Nazi flying saucers, Bigfoot, and also sea monsters. Weird, wild shit.
Yee-hoo.
In our final story, this priest dude died and met God, and she's a woman.
Okay.
I shit you not. Oh, well, it says no, the priest didn't really meet a female God after he died 48 minutes. For 48 minutes. A Catholic priest...
How the fuck do you die for 48 minutes?
I don't know, but he did. A Catholic priest from Father John Michael... Huh? I have no idea what that says. John Michael O'Neill claims he went to heaven and met a female God. That's today's claim on the internet, but it has been rubbished by a spokesman for the Archbishop of Boston. Unverified reports said that Father John Michael O'Neill is a Catholic priest.
We here in the city of Boston believe that all gods are a male god.
He's a Catholic priest from Boston Diocese who suffered a massive heart attack and died for 48 minutes. During that time, it was alleged that he went to heaven before being brought back by doctors in Massachusetts. However, Terence Donnellan, a spokesman for the Archbishop of Boston, has dismissed the reports as a hoax.
Do you like apples? Because I got God's number. How do you like them fucking apples?
We do not have a priest of this name. I believe this could be a hoax story. Reports had described how the priest was engulfed by a feeling of unconditional love as he met God, who he described as a mother-like being of light. He reportedly said her presence was both overwhelming and comforting. She had a soft and soothing voice, and her presence was reassuring.
Next stop, the presence of God in Harvard Yard.
The fact that God is a holy mother instead of a holy father doesn't disturb me. She is everything I hoped she would be, and even more. And that, Chris, is the news.
Fuck you. Seriously.
I don't know why I went into my NPR voice there, but... Stupid story that was. God's a woman, right?
This has been episode 67 of the Fortean Slip. If you like this shit, hit the like button. If you don't, hit the little thumbs down button. You can leave a comment, subscribe, do something. Share it around. Say something somewhere. Tweet it.
Send somebody a letter.
Yeah, I don't fucking know.
Like in the olden days.
Send it on Telegraph.
There you go. I gotta get me one of those death rays.
they work.
I think they do.
Maybe.
Hmm.